Hey everybody, it's your man James, Mr. Quinn Treasures, back again with some more video action for you. Today is another one of our jaunts into the realm of artistry as we do a little artistry appreciation. And for those of you new here who don't know what that is, artistry appreciation is where I take a piece of comic art from my personal collection that I own or have owned and tell you about why it's so awesome and why I felt the need to possess it. And maybe, who knows, maybe interest you in getting a collection of your own going, because that's always something I like to do to get, entice people into joining in with this awesome hobby of ours. So I want to thank you all for joining me today. And, I got a really special one today. This one's got a little bit of a story behind it too. So I'll give you all that a little bit later. Some of you may have seen this piece before. Some of you may have not, but whether you have or haven't, it's always a good time. And before we get into any of that, I wanted to say, if you like what you see here, drop a like down there on the video to help it out. The algorithms, always appreciated. Also, be sure to drop any comments you got down there on the art or anything I say, or, anything you want to talk about, really. I always like to hear from the folks. So drop some comments down there. Let me know what you're thinking. And also, if you like what you see, share out some links and bring in some more people so they can enjoy some sweet, sweet comic art. You got to share the love, right? That's what we got to do around here. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so you don't miss any of the content that I'm putting out around here. So with the usual shill out of the way, let's get right on into it and check out our art. And our art today is, like I said, it's a very special one. So let's get that rolling. And I'm going to take me off here because we don't need to see me. And then we're going to share the screen to bring us our artwork. And here we are. It's the cover to Barbed Wire #2 from 1994, which, as is stated here, is the third appearance of the character. She only appeared 2 other times before this. So let's get it right here. It's by Dan Lawlis and Jeff Albrecht. And we're just going to, again, big it up for you guys because we can get the bigger image. Now, this is a very special piece, not just because it's a cover, and that's because it's an early appearance of, a character. But, it was the first time I saw this original art, on the stands, when I saw the book out on the newsstands, and I saw this book, I was like, wow, it just blew me away to see this image. I love the huge figures that are done here. I love like big central figure and then other big figures around it. And, the image itself is, just, it's a torrent of action without even having to show a lot of action. You know what I'm saying? It's because you got so much going on here. You got her right in the center of all these big burly guys kicking their asses, and it's just, she's like the eye of the storm, And I said that this cover, more than any other, to me, it represents exactly who the character is. It tells you the 4 B's of Barbed Wire: bullets, boobs, booze, and busting heads. That's what she's about. That's what she does. She's a bounty hunter who owns a bar. There it is. It's real simple. Classic bad girl. This came out in the heart of the bad girl era. The kick-ass women who can kick a guy's ass and look good while doing it. That's what this is. I love Dan Lawlis's work. It's so smooth and flowing. Especially his faces. I mean, look at the expressions on all these faces. You got her expression of anger, this guy's expression of pain, this guy's expression of fear, all that in one single image. It's just great. I just love that. And it's all the little details too, like the writing on the gun. Like if you know anything about firearms, you know that there's stuff that's imprinted like this on guns. And Dan Lawlis made sure to put that on there. A lot of guys might have just left that area blank, like, they know it's a gun, it's no big deal. But no, Dan Lawlis, he knows that, there's a lot of people out there who pay attention to tech and to details like this, and he made sure to put that in. That is awesome to me, And again, it's just I think what it is also you got all the darkness here. You got darkness here. You got darkness over here. You got darkness down in here. But her in the center, it's all white. Her skin, that high midriff. That the face. There's a lot of darkness surrounding her, but yet she's in the center, and it's all bright. And I love that. Again, it really helps the image to pop, And again, like I said, this isn't a time when this was the new standard, was everyone was wanting to do a bad girl. And again, Dan's got the guys looking rough, but yet the women look beautiful. I mean, again, I think Dan Lawlis is personally, just my personal opinion, one of the top 10 female comic artists of all time. If you got a female character and want her to look great, Dan Lawlis is definitely one of the guys you need to have do it, because there is nobody that does a woman as very few guys who can do it as well as he does, and especially not with the face. Like I said, his faces are like his calling card, and this is just a beautiful piece. And but in the full disclosure, folks, some of you may know this, some of you may not. I was an art rep for quite a while, and I actually repped for Dan for several years. And there's a story behind this cover. I remember when I started working with him, I was talking with him on the phone, and I told him how much this cover meant to me. I said, I thought this is like your best work. I said there was never a better cover image for the series than this one right here. And I told him all this stuff, kind of stuff I told you. And he as he would send me art to sell, this was like, I think this was like around this time. It was around this time of year. It was like late November, early December. He sent me like the final shipment of the year, and in it was this cover with a note attached to him telling me that this is for me. He gifted me this cover, because of all the great work I was doing for him, selling his artwork and everything. He was very happy with it, and so as a thank you, like you could say like a Christmas bonus to the worker, he gave me this cover, and it's like that's just such a special gift to me to give me a piece that I remember so vividly, when it was on the newsstands, and to own the original art to this is just beyond compare. Like I said, the total details, like this right here, gross beer. I just love that, the gross beer bottle label, just so many little fine details he has in here. The wood grain on the bar in the background. I mean, just beautiful stuff. And but what you're going to see here is it's kind of funny, some of the details that are lost on the printed version. So let's show you that now real quick here. Okay, and here we got, you see right here, you can't really see you see the OSS, but you can't tell what the rest of it is. So you lose gross beer, and you saw down here, just where they cut off the line, they cut off Dan and Jeff Albrecht's signatures. So you don't know who the artists are. Normally when you see a cover, somewhere in the cover, you'll see the signature of the artist or artists who worked on it. And you saw on the art, it's there, but yet the way they cut the book, it cut off their names. And I just thought that was kind of a very interesting, and yet here, even in the colored version, again, you can see all the dark around her, and she is still, very bright, very vivid. She pops, she literally pops off the page, which again is what you want in a cover image. This is cover work done correctly. This is how you entice the reader to go, I got to pick this book up. I mean, you see this hot, sexy chick just beating the crap out of 3 guys on the cover. You're like, I got to find out what's going on in here. I have to see what this is all about. And, so, I mean, again, just the face, the face that Dan Lawlis has, the face is just beautiful stuff. Even with the trade dress in there, it doesn't really take anything away from the image. But we'll go back to our art here, and you can see, you can see those differences. Like I told you, you can see, how certain stuff got cut off. But you wouldn't think would happen, but yet somehow it does. It's just the way the printing process works sometimes. But yeah, just again, it's just a beautiful image, of a character that, went on to bigger things. I mean, they did make a movie about this character, granted it wasn't a great movie, but still, it's to have worked on, I mean, I don't know, to work on something like this that went as far as Barbed Wire has, and it's like a known quantity like that now. Be a character who helped define an era of comics, the bad girl era. I mean, to me, that's a great feather in Dan Lawlis's cap. But as Dan has always said about colors, you see all this around here is all these darker colors, and yet her colors, her outfit, and all very bright. Her hair, look at how yellow that blonde hair is. And again, this is something he has said is like when you have cool colors in the background, you want hot colors in the foreground to push the image forward. And if you and you can do it also in the reverse. If the background is all hot colors, you want cool colors in the foreground, again, to push the image forward. And that's what you see here with this. Again, his eye for color is, I think, second to none. Again, just another reason I think he's one of the great female artists in comic book history. Top 10 for me, without a doubt. And he understands color theory, he understands faces, he understands how to lay something out to get a maximum impactful effect. This is comic books done right, folks. We talk about strong women in comics. Well, here's strong women in comics, and you didn't have to like denigrate men to do it. You didn't have to cut corners and like take away her femininity, her beauty. She can still be beautiful while she's kicking ass, and that's something that's really, really great. I like, again, the whole era of the bad girl era from like the early to mid 90s, a very special time in comics. I was glad to be there, to be a part of it, working in shops and things of that nature, and to see pieces like this, and then to own this original. Like I said, this is a gift beyond compare. I don't know if I could ever thank him enough for this. It's just, again, it just makes it so special and so something that's not you know, not just a usual piece that you like bought off eBay or you bought from a seller or whatever. This is something special. And you know, I really enjoy, you know, having this piece. Again, this is like one of those pieces where, like, if I were to pass away, I'd want it buried with me so that nobody else can possess it except me and eternity. And that's all. No one else will ever possess it. You know, but you know, Dan has said that he felt that his work at Dark Horse on Agents of Law and Barbed Wire was probably the best work of his career in the mainstream comics industry. And you know, when you see an image like this, you'd be hard pressed to say otherwise. You'd be hard pressed to tell him he's wrong, and I certainly wouldn't. Again, like I said, this to me is like his best cover on the series. So I mean, you know, it's like if you know, if you want the best, you got to go for the best, and this is it right here. Just beautiful stuff, lots of action, lots of you know, big central figure, you know, lots of details, little fun stuff. I mean, you know, just the minding of the like I said, the details on the gun alone. I mean, it shows you this is an artist who cares about their craft, and that's what you really want in all this stuff. You want artists who care and who are willing to, you know, go the extra mile for what you want. And you know, and again, beautifully inked by Jeff Albrecht. You know, Dan has said that him and Ian Aiken were probably the two inkers he liked to work with the best because they understood his pencils and they were able to give him what he wanted when he would, you know, when he would lay out the pencils on an image, and they would just beautifully follow what he had laid down. And again, like I said, looking at the results here, it's hard to argue with that, you know. So definitely, like I said, this was definitely a good team, and you know, just putting out a beautiful cover image that, you know, it just stands out. Even today, it would stand out on the newsstands or in the comic shops, and you would definitely want to grab this book and flip through it, if nothing else. Like I said, and that's what a great cover image is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you go, wow, I got to look underneath this. And I think this image right here does that. Again, one image that tells you everything you need to know about the character all at once. And you know, it doesn't get any better than that, I think. So definitely great. When the Barbed Wire #2 cover by Dan Lawlis and Jeff Albrecht, like I said, a high point in Dan's career, a high point for the character's book. And again, just you know, just a great piece, and again, a very special gift that was given to me. And there we have it, another one in the books, another nice little artist appreciation for you all. I hope this gave you some little fun here, a little bit of you know, break from your day, you know, something that's not just to, you know, break up the monotony. But let me know what you think. What do you think? Do you think Dan Lawlis is right about you know, about getting women's faces right, about, you know, the colors, about, you know, inkers, you know, let me know what you think. You know, what do you think of the art? Do you think it's great? Do you think I'm on the money that he's one of the best, you know, female artists, you know, around, or am I completely off base? Let me know what you think, because I always want to hear what the folks have to say. And that'll about do it for this video, but I will be back soon with some more stuff, because I'm always working on things. I even got some stuff in the background I'm working on, guys. Yeah, you may be a little surprised. So we'll have to see how that shakes down, but I will be back soon with some more stuff. And until next time, take care.